Hello everyone, in this video we're going to tell you about the changes made to runes in patch 8.23 and specifically the extra runes that were added with it. You no longer get bonus stats when you choose your rune paths, and instead get to choose them by yourself. The rune system interface now has 3 extra rows you can set up. Every row has 3 options you can pick from. In this video you're going to find out which of the new runes are best to have for support champions, what matchups and situations can make you want to change them, and many other things. So without further ado guys, let's get started. And we're gonna start with the first row, Attack. The first rune here is an Adaptive Force rune, which will either give you 6 attack damage or 10 ability power. Since supports rarely need any attack speed and only sometimes need extra CDR, this is the rune you'll want to have on your supports most of the time. Early damage output is very important for early trading. If you don't have enough of it, it will be very difficult for you to gain any initiative in your lane, and that means you'll risk losing your control over the river. We're not going to list all the champions who benefit from this rune. We'll just know that there is no real difference between the kind of champion you are using, be it a melee tank like Alistar or a utility support like Lulu. Next up, there is an Attack Speed rune. This can be a good option for champions who aren't true supports, for example if you're playing an interesting strategy like Miss Fortune and Ashe, which was relatively popular during the Worlds 2016. You might want to pick this one instead of the first. In most other cases, this rune will not be useful at all. The third rune in this row is Cooldown Reduction bonus. This is by far the rarest choice. This rune will only be useful for champions who really need that extra cooldown reduction, so much in fact that they're ready to sacrifice that 10 extra damage bonus for it. A good example of that is Zilean, whose CDR heavily affects his effectiveness. The more often he can boost and revive his teammates as well as stun his opponents, the more effective he gets. So now let's get to the next row, Flex. This one gives you both attacking and defensive choices. But whereas the first choice you made relied on who you're going to play, this one relies on who you're going to play against. The first rune here is an Adaptive Force rune, which will either give you 6 attack damage or 10 ability power, pretty much like the rune in the first row. This rune is a good choice for all champions who fit into the carry support role. Their main goal is to deal as much damage at the start of the game as they can, just so they can keep the enemies low enough to forget about trying to poke or harass. Surely, this is the kind of rune that aggressive tanks like Leon or support assassins like Pyke can benefit from. Early damage can catch your opponents by surprise, especially if you try to be aggressive as early as you hit level 2. However, this is the option we'd only recommend to the more seasoned players, and especially those who are playing a duo with their marksmen and have good communication with them. You can also risk it and get this rune for utility supports with some early poking capabilities like Sona, Janna, Lulu or even Nami. However, this is only viable against the bot lanes without strong engages like Braum or Taric. Next up, there are 2 damage resistance runes you can choose from. One gives you armor and the other one gives you magic resistance. The choice of this depends on the situation you are going to find yourself in. For example, if you're playing Morgana and the enemy bot lane predominantly deals physical damage, you'd want to have more armor in order to be more effective in trades and skirmishes, and say sustain Pyke's initiations a little better. Magic resistance, on the other hand, is viable in cases when you see that the enemy bot lane is going to be dealing a lot of magic damage. For example, the cases when you see Kai'Sa and Nami against you, just because a big part of Kai'Sa's damage is magical. Okay, let's make it clear now. In the second row you either get Adaptive Force for champions that act as carry supports, or get the damage resistance for the rest. The choice between armor and magic resistance should be made according to the kind of damage the enemy bot lane is going to deal. The third, defense row, only has defensive options in it. The first one of them is a Scaling Health bonus rune. This is the most effective rune for most supports, as it will provide you with more effective health against mixed damage than the armor and magic resistance runes can provide on their own. More often than not, you'll get a physical damage marksman and a magical damage support as your opponents. Because of that, you'll need to have good defense capabilities against both. Let's imagine a simple example. Leona playing against Jhin and Morgana. At level 3, she might want to start a fight, but she doesn't want to die. At level 3, she'll have 705 points of health, 52 points of armor and 34 of magic resistance. With a health rune, she will have 1109 effective health against physical damage, and 877 effective health against magic damage. With the armor rune, she'll have slightly more effective health against physical damage, but will have a lot less effective health against magic damage. And just so you know, the value of the bonus health rune will only grow with every level, so again, if you know you're going to be taking mixed damage from your lane opponents, the bonus health rune will be the best option. The second and third runes in this row are bonus armor and bonus magic resistance runes. The logic behind picking this is the same as it was in the flex role. If you're facing two mages, say Swain and Brand, then you should definitely go for magic resistance. However, if you're facing two physical damage dealers, say Jhin and Pyke, then you should go for armor. Alright, now let's sum it all up. There are 5 main rune stat builds you'll be using most of the time. AP or AD plus magic resistance or armor plus HP. This is the most versatile build, which can be used on most of the champions out there. If you're only starting to learn your champion and don't have a good idea on the kind of matchup you're going to face, go for this build. You just can't miss with this one. AP or AD plus AP or AD plus HP. This is the carry support build, which you pick for the supports who need to deal as much damage as they possibly can. Supports like Zyra, Vel'Koz, Brand or Bard. AP or AD plus magic resistance or armor plus magic resistance or armor. This is the build for tank supports or utility supports for the cases where the enemy bot lane has a fixed damage type. That is, either they go full AD or they go full AP. AP or AD plus magic resistance or armor plus HP. This is also the tank and utility support builds, but this one is aimed at dealing with mixed damage types. And finally, CDR plus AP or AD plus HP. This is the build for the champions with a dire need for cooldown reduction. Most of the time these are going to be squishy champions who need CDR, a little bit of damage and a little bit of health to stay effective. Champions like Zilean, Blitzcrank or Soraka. So I guess that's it for now. We hope you have found this guide useful. Follow this principle, guys, and your rune page will always work. So on this note, thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and as always, good luck in your solo queue.